Hello everyone, welcome back to Dramafan. Episode 13 is so heartbreaking. Also we can see how Mr. Gu and Jeong miss each other. However, that episode presents us with a different timeline. Jeong in the past and Mr. Gu in the future. Which makes me think that after Mr. Gu moved back to Seoul, he was so busy with his business until he didn't notice that he missed Jeong. Unlike Mr. Gu, after Mr. Gu left, Jeong was very sad, but she moved on from that. That's why she can win the design contest in her company. She told this woman that she was crying because she lost her dog. Episode 13 shows us how Jeong and Mr. Gu's characters are represented in another way. The baby that Mr. Gu saw is Jeong. And the dog that Jeong met on the mountain at night is Mr. Gu. So to Mr. Gu, when he saw the baby, it seemed like he was meeting Jeong for the first time. He found something different, the breath of new life, freedom. Because he had never seen a person like Jeong. He might also think of Jeong after he saw the baby, because he remembered Jeong's words, "I will carry my child. I want to carry you at 1 year old." For Jeong, she became bolder after she met Mr. Gu, just like she met the dog on the mountain. The dog itself represents Mr. Gu. They both show us that they are not afraid of anything except Jeong. She scares them. The story represented also come when Mr. Gu calls Chunja and asked what he wants. It looked like he was talking to Jeong. So when Chunja said he wanted to go home, and he was very happy that Mr. Gu gave him the money to go back. This scene seemed to represent what Mr. Gu really wanted to. He wanted to go home, to Sanpo, to where Jeong is. So after that scene, Mr. Gu, who was in the future, go back to Sanpo by train. He finally decided to come back after a few years. At Sanpo, he learned the fact that the three siblings had left Sanpo not long after their mother died. In episode 14, finally Mr. Gu called Jeong. I repeated this scene many times. Mr. Gu looks very handsome. This scene looks like a dream, because previously Mr. Gu returned to his house after drinking. He returned to his house, which was full of bottles of alcohol and very dark. As he said before to Jeong, that he never lived in a house where the direction of the wind changes and the moon is visible at night. Before going to bed, Mr. Gu looked at the light between the curtains. The light between the curtains seems to symbolize hope in the midst of darkness. So it seems that the scene is a dream of Mr. Gu who hopes to meet Jeong. Jeong is like a light that illuminates the darkness in his life. After he wake up, Mr. Gu will immediately call Jeong to meet her. Because in the preview of episode 15, Jeong and Mr. Gu looks different compared to episode 14. In the preview of episode 15, Jeong is not as shy as in episode 14. And Mr. Gu suddenly became a sweet talker. For all this time he was not like that. In episode 14, it seems to be what he wanted to do when he met Jeong for the first time in a long time. So when they finally meet for real, they go back to being themselves. But Mr. Gu still treats Jeong the same as in his dream. Take care of her, eat together and have fun. They will have fun until Mr. Gu takes Jeong to his house. They both look like they're drunk, though Mr. Gu once said that when he was drunk he was sane, then when he was not. This happened because he was very happy to have met Jeong. I don't think we've ever seen Jeong this happy either. Seen from the color of Mr. Gu's clothes had turned brighter when he met Jeong. Before this he always wore black clothes. This brown color also symbolizes dependability, safety, and resilience. To add on, Mr. Gu's behavior towards Jeong is the same as the color of his clothes. Because of this, Jeong realized that Mr. Gu would never let her hit the rock bottom. Not only that, this color tells us that they have feelings of loneliness and sadness. Where Jeong also wore brown combined with white. White symbolizes a new beginning, of wiping the slate clean. That's why there is Jeong who asks Mr. Gu's name. Getting acquainted is done when we first meet the person. It's like letting us know that they've turned a new chapter in their story, where they haven't seen each other for a long time. However, their happy moments will be disturbed because the club has problems. So Mr. Gu had to solve the problem. When he wanted to leave, he was afraid that Jeong would leave him. Jeong will tell Mr. Gu that she will still be there, even if he leaves. It seems that, because of this, Mr. Gu got into a fight, since he had wound on his face. After this problem, Mr. Gu will go straight home, because Jeong is waiting for him. Here his face already has a wound, and wears the same clothes when he met Jeong. He will feel relieved that Jeong is still at his house. They will spend time together and express their true feelings. The next day Mr. Gu will be called by Chairman Shin regarding the problem at the club. Looks like Mr. Gu solved the problem in a bad way that got him into the fight. However, Mr. Gu doesn't seem to care about the way he took care of the problem. Mr. Gu will meet Mi Jeong again after Mi Jeong leaves the office. While eating, Mr. Gu asked Mi Jeong, "Do you want a part-time job?" This question confused me. Because it's definitely impossible for Mr. Gu to ask Mi Jeong to work at the club. It could be that he wants Mi Jeong to be at his house so that every day, and when he comes home, he is able to see Mi Jeong. I believe for Mr. Gu, Mi Jeong is his home. So the two of them will return to Mr. Gu's place. Here Mr. Gu will tell Mi Jeong that he regrets it when he meets Mi Jeong again. It seems after he met Mi Jeong, he wanted to leave the world he is currently living in and go to Mi Jeong's world. Also, he regrets that it took him so long to decide to look for Mi Jeong. Mr. Gu reflects a lot on what Young-Dae told him. He also realized that all this time it was Mi Jeong who was taking care of him, not him taking care of Mi Jeong. The preview of episode 15 seems to show that Mr. Gu and Mi Jeong will end up together. However, this makes me doubt it because suddenly they have a lot of happy moments together, where this scene has not been shown yet. After their mother died, Mi Jeong looked out the window and it's snowing. This scene might foreshadow the scene. Like Mi Jeong and her mother, so she and Mr. Gu might not end up together in 2022. However, I still want to believe that Mr. Gu and Mi Jeong will end up together. Like Jeong said, you can get away with anything if you have love. Also, they are happier when they are together. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.